Hey everybody, is this better? This good? Okay, thank you. My name is Roxanne Curtright. I'm the director of a small nonprofit here in eastern North Carolina called North Carolina Farm to Animal Save. Our work is to be a part of the movement that ends factory farming in the eastern half of North Carolina. If you look that way, one county over is the most heavily factory farmed place on the planet, and it's right upriver from us. There are 6,800 factory farms just west of us here. Duplin and Sampson County are the primary counties, but there are plenty of other counties in the eastern half of North Carolina that are loaded with factory farms. These factory farms hold chickens, turkeys, and pigs primarily. That's what we do here in North Carolina. Industrial animal agriculture, it's a big moneymaker for North Carolina. Animal ag is the #1 source of revenue for the state. So our legislators and our voters and our businesses here are very much in favor of us continuing to have factory farms in North Carolina. However, there are consequences to having factory farms that go beyond what drew me to the movement, which is cruelty to animals. There are a lot of other topics. Today I brought a book that I haven't looked at very much in 20 years. It's called Animal Factory by David Kirby. When I first started in this movement almost 9 years ago, a friend sent it to me. And if you can see how jammed up this is with notes, 1/3 of this book is about North Carolina, and I only read that third, and these are the tabs that I've made on that. When I found out what was going on in North Carolina, I was pretty horrified. And what's even worse is that now, 20 years later, it's worse. So I want to read you a little part out of this book because it's about Elsie Herring. Elsie Herring died recently. She's been in every film and short subject and long feature film they've made about factory farming because she was living right in the thick of it in Duplin County for her entire life and generations before her. And she would talk about her grandfather who had been considered a slave in there when they first got that farm, and some of the things that they went through from generation to generation as these factory farms moved in and destroyed everything. So I'd like to tell you a little bit of something that Elsie had to say 20 years ago about this. And she's also just someone who's been very influential and inspirational for me as I've gotten into this. So this is Elsie speaking more than 20 years ago. She said, several years ago, a white family just walked into the Register of Deeds office and rewrote the deed on our property. They took 45 acres. They said we'd never registered the deed on that parcel. There was nothing we could do. The land they took goes right up to 8 feet from our house. Just to be clear, they have found pig poop in her house and in other houses up to a mile from a factory farm. So then they put in a pig factory farm. And Elsie said, ever since, it's a living hell. They spray manure right into our property and they haul their sprayer behind a tractor so they know exactly where it's going. When we complained, they sprayed some more on our lawn, on our house, even the laundry on our clothesline. It's like rain coming down, but it's raw sewage. You can't stand out there. You can't open your windows. You can't cook out. You can't have company over. And you've got flies everywhere. Meanwhile, everyone's got a headache, our eyes water, it's hard to breathe or swallow from the ammonia. It actually makes you itch. She said, I tried to go talk to the people, but I was afraid to even walk up to their door. They've got a lot of guns and ammo on that farm that was near her. Instead, she approached the owner one day on the road, neutral territory, and he was yelling at her and saying some awful things to her. Days later, the farmer's son appeared at her home, burst into her home, grabbed her mom, and started cursing and shaking her. Elsie went to the police department, was told there was nothing there to do. Several weeks later, the sheriff returned to the house bearing handcuffs for Elsie. Elsie said, I was out mowing the lawn and they wanted to put me in handcuffs. My mother had passed away by then. And I said my Down syndrome brother was in the house. He could barely move his head at this point. They were going to take me away and leave him there. It was a disgrace. Someone said, why did they want to arrest you? And she said, my neighbor said I was trespassing. He lied and the police believed him. So Elsie fought this battle for over 20 years and she recently died of a very fast-moving cancer. People who live near factory farms die younger than other people, and I believe that living near these pig CAFOs is part of what killed her. There are pathogens in the waste that comes from the factory farms. Researchers have identified 150 pathogens that are dangerous to humans that are in the waste that comes out of these factory farms. And as I said, we have 6,800 of them in eastern North Carolina. We have something like 2,400 of the big magenta pig lagoons, some of which are as big as football fields. They are full of piss and shit and blood and vomit and little bits of pigs, and they liquefy this stuff and spray it up in the air. Right now they're trying to greenwash the CAFOs by turning this stuff into energy. But the fact remains that factory farms are horror for the entire world, whether you care about animals, which is how I got involved originally, whether you care about environmental racism and justice, which I also care about, whether you care about the water and land here, which I also care about. There's no safe way to have factory farming. And it is my opinion that we have to get rid of factory farming in eastern North Carolina. I believe we need to go to legislators and encourage them to bring new business opportunities and job opportunities into rural eastern North Carolina. Also, I cannot freaking believe that North Carolina is so stupid that they're going to be the last state to legalize cannabis, because where the CAFOs are now used to be called Tobacco Road. I can't think of a better place to grow weed. So we need to replace some of these factory farms with legal cannabis farms. We need to send government money to some of these contract growers who are basically sharecroppers, and well, not all of them, some of them are doing pretty good. And if they want to transition into legal weed, or in some cases, some places are turning chicken farms into mushroom farms, then we need to put money into that. So in a lot of years, with a lot of people working on this from an environmental issue and from an environmental justice issue, very little change has come. And in fact, we just have more factory farms than ever. And we have lots of slaughterhouses, which also do some environmental damage. They're also very dangerous places for workers. Recently, some workers and some organizations, such as my own, have been suing the USDA to make sure they don't speed up the kill line at the slaughterhouses, because that is very dangerous for workers and also for the animals. So I just wanted to tell a little bit of Elsie's story because she is such an unsung hero, and I can't believe how many people don't know what she's done and what she's tried to do. And I hope that anybody who hears this is inspired to maybe step up into her shoes, because we definitely need a lot of people to do that. And those are some big shoes to fill, but maybe if 200 of us try together, we can do that. What I'd like to say now is my organization in the past, the biggest thing we did activism-wise was to go to slaughterhouses and bear witnesses to animals on the trucks going to slaughter. We would sometimes give water. We would sometimes take photos and videos, come home and put everything on social media. COVID kind of took us out of that for a while. We've done a little bit of it this year. We call them vigils, and you can find us on NC Save and on Instagram, or North Carolina Farm Animal Save on Facebook, and we have a website, ncsave.org. But going forward, we really want to work on legislative change and possibly some more lawsuits. We have 2 animal law clinics that we might be able to work with for further lawsuits. But what we need is people here in North Carolina who are moved enough that they want to do something. And whether you are able to leave your home and get your boots on the ground or not, there's really something for everybody to do. There are phone calls that people can make. You can go, for people who live in the Triangle, you can go to the legislative building and talk to legislators. Also on the national level, every 5 years we get a new farm bill. We'll have a new one in 23. But in the meantime, back in 18, Cory Booker put out a farm bill that is to get rid of factory farms over time. And then Ro Khanna introduced one in Congress that would be the companion piece to it. These bills are going absolutely nowhere. They've already had to water them down, and there's very little support for them. But these bills would effectively close all the largest factory farms. And this would mean life to a lot of animals and people and ecosystems in places like North Carolina and Iowa, in places where there's a lot of dairy, California perhaps. It's a hurricane. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Look at you guys! It's like an Easter egg hunt. Thank you. So what I'd like to know is, does anybody have any questions about anything having to do with what's going on in North Carolina around factory farms, what's going on around maybe the farm bills, or what we could do as a group of people to move the needle? And also how you think things have changed since COVID in terms of what we're willing, what we want for ourselves, because I think we're very changed since COVID. You know, we've all had a lot of time to sit at home and think about what's important to us and how we want to spend our very, very precious time, and how does that relate to activism on any of these issues. So does anyone have anything they would like to say about any of that? I don't know, I just threw a lot at you. Please. Yeah. So do you feel like you're, someone said, how can an individual help? So you educate yourself, of course, and then Or do you feel like you're the kind of person who's comfortable going out and talking to people, or do you feel like you'd rather be behind the scenes at home, maybe doing something on social media or writing letters? You know, it's really kind of tailored to the kind of personality you have, the amount of time you have, your ability versus disability and time schedules and all of that. So are you in this area? Girl, you're 30 minutes or so from Tar Heel, the world's largest slaughterhouse. We have the world's largest pig slaughterhouse, the world's largest chicken slaughterhouse, the world's largest turkey slaughterhouse, and that's the largest slaughterhouse in the world. That's where we do monthly vigils. It's very tough, so I'm not going to say you should definitely come, but I would welcome you to come. It's just. So, have you been to Tar Heel? Do you know where there's an intersection? Oh yeah, it's crazy down there. So there's a Subway shop next to a gas station and a Hardee's, and we stand at that intersection, and we usually have signs. But people know why we're there. We're there for the trucks. When the truck comes down the road, it stops. I feel like we had a lot of weird sound, but I'm gonna roll. Keep going. If the truck stops, we approach the truck, take photos and videos to sort of document the condition of the animals inside the truck. And in the summer, we give them water because it can be over 100 inside those steel cages really easily. So it's sort of traumatizing to do. But animal activists, when they come out of a vigil, come out with like a steely backbone, like, I'm not letting this continue. So if animal rights is your issue, that is part of it. If environment or environmental justice is an issue, there are a couple of organizations that specifically work on that. Duplin Reach is one, and there's the environmental, I'm not going to say it right, ENJ, Environmental Justice Network. I can't think of how it is, but Najima Muhammad runs it, and she's also sort of in that area. And then worker support is a little iffy. Like the people at that plant do technically have a union, but they've gone through a lot to have that union. So there's that union's as strong as it can be right now, but they've been through a lot. Did that answer that at all? Yeah. Sign up here and write social media, and I will get a hold of you. That would be awesome. Does anybody else have any comments or questions or anything you want to talk about? Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to let it go, but I'll stay up here for a couple minutes if somebody wants to come up and talk afterwards. Woo. But thank you, appreciate it.